2025 is the year of Chibnall Doctor Who on Big Finish, with Lupari, the Fugitive Doctor, Sacha Dhawan's Master, and a certain Doctor, the
Hmm.
13th Doctor, and Yaz!
Yeah, indeed. They're, they're getting half the band back together from the
Yeah,
era. But it's all you really need, isn't it?
it
Because
is.
they're, it's nice having this smaller TARDIS team for this brand new set of adventures here, kicking off with Vampire Weekend by Tim Foley. I mean,
Mm,
if you're a regular on this channel, you'll know we're big fans of Tim Foley, aren't we?
we adore Tim
So
Foley.
having him kicking off not only the Ninth Doctor and Rose adventures next month, but the 13th Doctor and Yaz adventures this month. It's the cherry on top of the cake, really. And I think he's done a wonderful job providing a reintroduction to these characters and giving us a season opener or series opener, whichever
Yeah,
term you
this
prefer.
is quite an interesting sort of Big Finish debut, isn't it?
Hmm.
Because normally they've sort of gone for the traditional route with the classic Doctors, where it be the four-part stories.
Yeah.
David Tennant just had a very classic RTD opener. The Ninth Doctor had a bit more of a complex start with Ravagers with this sort of
Yeah.
temporal story, whereas this is sort of doing something different, but also very in keeping, where you have a series opener with a little hint of an arc of where we're going to go with this series as well. So it's doing something a little bit different as well, which I like.
Yeah, that's quite neat because it's set not long after Revolution of the Daleks. This is pretty much the first time that Yaz and the Doctor are, interacting as a pair, really. They're used to
Hmm.
the boys around, as Yaz puts it. And
And
so,
that's what I like about it,
yeah.
because it's exploring Yaz's vulnerability
Mm,
within and sort of learning the new status quo with this TARDIS team, where they go from here.
yeah, that's exactly it. They've had a little bit of time apart while Yaz has been reconnecting with some old friends, one of whom is getting married, Gina, her best friend. And
Mm.
so there's a hen do going on, and this nice old manor house has been booked out for the weekend. You know, Tim Foley, he loves his grand old houses. They've
He's got a
appeared,
formula, hasn't he?
yeah, Old Lang Syne, Friend of
Fred
the
of family.
and they used to great effect in both those stories, and this is no exception. But basically, it seems that one of the party guests is not quite what they appear. There is a vampire on the loose, if you can guess from the title.
Yeah.
And so the 13th Doctor is gate crashing to find out who this vampire is, and it's very much about Yaz juggling her home life and her TARDIS life. And there's a question of, which one is the real Yaz, and can she juggle both now? Which I think is great because Yaz, as a character, sometimes drifted into the background. This feels very much like how the Fifth Doctor started at Big Finish. I think is a good way to compare it.
Mm.
He was a Doctor who similarly had a crowded TARDIS on TV, whereas when he started on Big Finish, it was just him and Nissa, and that really put Nissa in the forefront, set between Time Flight and Arc of Infinity, where they'd recently lost Adric in tragic circumstances and lost Tegan in slightly less tragic circumstances. And so, they were able to explore her character and build that up a lot more. And it seems Yaz is getting the same treatment here, which I'm really enjoying. And it's
Mm.
nice to see that friend group that she grew up as a part of and, juggling those dynamics. It feels very 2020-ish, doesn't it? That
Yeah.
it's a friend group of the modern era. And I really like that we've got to go there with this character.
Yeah, and I think it also explores more of the sort of 13th Doctor as well, I would
Hmm.
say. But you sort of get to see sort of her trying to cope solo without Yaz by her side with Ian and Barbara, these two chickens, who you think of there just for the expense of the gag of it's a hen do, so I brought some hens along. But I
Mm.
love how these chickens actually became characters within the actual story of hunting down the vampire. I thought that was really quite neat and cool.
Yeah, if you like me rolled your eyes a bit at that trailer they put out where there's that joke about the hen do and the chickens being brought along, stick with it because it does actually pay off, I think, surprisingly.
And I,
I
I
feel
think
like
as well, it gives Jodie one of the most doctory moments. I feel with her
hmm,
just talking to the chicken. That just felt, that's the Doctor. That's great. I loved that.
yeah. I think you can also imagine Jodie's mannerisms really well for
Yeah.
the voice. Both of these, it feels like, they never left, which makes sense because it's only been a couple of years for them. But still, that jump from screen to audio isn't always an easy one, but I think they've handled it really well. And like I say, when you hear Judy said that in the behind the scenes, she was going big with her performances. There were a lot of hand movements, and I feel like you can feel that in the performance.
Mm.
Very turned up to 11, not in a melodramatic over the top way, but in a very her doctory way. And those things where she'd be like this to this, those kind of mannerisms that the 13th Doctor had on screen. I think you can imagine them so easily
Yeah.
through her performance. So top marks to Jodie Whittaker on that.
I think that is the big standout for this, just how well they've integrated themselves into the world of audio. And you have the nice quiet moments between the Doctor and Yaz, which still land despite these big moments they have of energy.
Yeah, that's true. What I also like about this story is, like we said, it's a series opener. This is the first in a 12-part series, and it feels like that. It doesn't necessarily feel like just another story for the 13th Doctor and Yaz that's slotted into the middle of their run. It feels like a missing series in between
Yes.
series 12 and series 13. This is very much an opener in the way that it sort of reintroduces the characters.
Hmm.
A bit like how Magician's Apprentice starts with both the characters apart, then coming together in the Doctor and Clara. This has a similar approach, and it very much feels like the start of a what's going to be 12 episode run, while also standing alone quite neatly as well. Not just through the fact that it has a tease of what's to come. There's a ongoing arc similar to what we often have in the new series, but at the same time, it's just the way it's written, the fact that it's slightly lighter, but also has some heavy moments. It's got some good character work that feels like it's setting up where these characters are going to be going. It feels like an opener,
Hmm.
a proper series opener, which I rate really highly.
Yeah, I think having the vampire there be not your atypical vampire where it's a draining blood and stuff like that. It's a truth vampire. So it allows you to go deeper into the characters. So like you say, it's allowing you to introduce the characters, but also get familiar with them, but then go a little bit deeper with them within the actual story.
Hmm. Like on TV, sometimes you'd have moments in the 13th Doctor's era where it felt like the characters suddenly stopped and just started talking about, I don't want to generically say their feelings, but they were very much we're having the character
Let's have
moment.
a check-in.
Let's slow down the plot a bit. Let's check in on the characters. But here, that kind of it works neatly because it's part of the plot.
Yeah.
It almost feels like perhaps a deliberate riff on that.
Hmm.
But
It
it
works. It
works
works.
very neatly in how what these characters are going through at the moment is deliberate. It's having an impact on the plot and is deliberately worked into it. It all comes together really nicely, I think, which, yeah, big fan of this opener. I feel like it's everything it needed to be, really. I don't think
Yeah.
it's the perfect story. Like, it's not blown me away in that sense, but it has really impressed me. It's one that I feel like I could stick on again easily and just have a good time. It's a short 50-minute spurt of Doctor Who that I think perfectly gets me in the mood for more of the
Yeah.
13th Doctor and Yaz at Big Finish. So that's all I could really ask of it. How about you?
It's everything you want. It's just a real strong debut. Does everything what it says on the tin. Here's the 13th
Hmm.
Doctor and Yaz on Big Finish. We've got a little direction where we're going, and yeah,
Right.
I'm really excited for it to go. And it's a release. When it was announced, we did an announcement video about
Hmm.
Jodie joining, and
Nearly a year ago now.
nearly a year. And I think the excitement was worth it. I think it really was. I think having the vampire, it's almost like Chibnall in a way bringing back a classic monster because I think vampires and Doctor Who are such integrated together from like State of Decay and even the Chase in a way. So it's
Yeah.
nice to explore a little bit more of that. And I think Tim Foley did a bit of a Russell T Davies where it was sort of you learn a little bit about more of the vampire war with like these throwaway things, but also kept the mystery of it as well. Um,
I don't feel like you have to be a big classic Doctor Who fan. You don't have to have watched State of Decay or read slash listened to the adaptation of Goth Opera to get this one. It's everything you need is there in the story. It's vampire, ancient enemy of the Time Lords. There were wars, and
mhm.
that's all you really need. It's all there in the story, which I think is very neat. It's got that Doctor Who lore there for those who know, but for those who don't, it's not going to detract from your
Yeah.
experience. No. Marks out of 10?
Oh, I'd say a solid 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm on the same page there. I think 8
Real
is
strong,
really
real
good.
strong stuff.
One. It doesn't go above and beyond, but it doesn't need to. It gets everything right that it does and sets the stage for hopefully a strong ongoing series because
Mm.
I thought that's something we've needed after the 11th Doctor Chronicles wrapped up with Victory of the Doctor. And so hopefully this will come along and give us another one of those.
Mm.
And we know what's coming next from this. In September, we have the return of the Doctor, funnily enough, which, we've had our present day story. Now we're getting our future story as the Doctor and Yaz go off to this planet with alien armadillos.
Mm.
And the Doctor seems to leave in a bit of a hurry, and Yaz basically tells the Doctor, no, go back, let's see how this turned out, because oftentimes in Doctor Who, we are having those situations where the TARDIS team leave and we don't quite know where things are going next. And so with this story, we're getting that going back. And it seems quite neat for Yaz's character here because she often got to stand up to the Doctor on TV, but it never really followed through in a meaningful way. And so here it feels like they're taking that and running with it for a whole story. So, how are you feeling about the next one?
Yeah.
Because you got that the same day.
It sounds very much like one of the 13th Doctor books for Good Doctor, by Juno Dawson. So it sounds a bit similar in premise with that. But yeah, after Vampire Weekend and reading the synopsis, having a new writer, having new blood injected
Yeah,
into
Rory's plus house.
Doctor Who, that's always exciting. So I'm really excited for this new series Doctor Who monthly range now, which is
Mm,
really cool.
yeah. So, on the whole, we're very happy with the 13th Doctor's debut at Big Finish. But are you? Have you listened to it yet? Has our review tempted you? If not,
Hopefully
please
it has.
sound off down in the comments below. And we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.